Welcome to the Ingleside Public Library virtual after-school program. Today we're making a decorative starburst out of paper. So for this one I used color paper. For the one that I'm making today, I'm going to use a magazine that I cut up. So for this craft you need a glue stick, a straw or dowel or a pencil, a pair of scissors, a magazine that you can cut up, a little bit of cardboard. This was a shoebox that I cut into a circle. A small piece of string or yarn or ribbon that you can tie into a loop, and then another type of adhesive. I'm using a glue gun. You can also use regular school glue. It will just take longer for it to dry. Okay, so to get started, we have to turn our strips of paper or strips of magazine into the paper tubes that you're going to use for your design. So I've already cut them. As you make your paper tubes, what I always do is I pick the most interesting side. So I think that this side has the most interesting color on it. So I'm going to put that upside down with the colors that I want on the right side. Then I'm going to take my glue stick, and on the back, on the right side, I'm going to make a line all the way along the edge, on the top, and then I'm going to get that upper right hand corner really well, make sure it has a lot of glue on it, and then I take my straw or my long, you can use a pencil or a dowel or a skewer. I'm going to put it in the lower left corner. I'm going to very carefully roll it over the straw and make it as tight as you can. If you're going to keep them intact and not cut them, then it is okay for you to only put glue in the upper right hand corner, but since I plan on cutting them and I don't want them to unravel, I'm putting glue along the entire edge. And just roll it to make sure that that corner is secure, and then you can remove your straw and you have a paper tube. I'm going to do another one. So this is the edge that I want to be visible. So I make sure that it's on the bottom side, on the right hand side. I'm going to take my glue stick and put glue along the right edge, the top, and then that upper right hand corner. I take my straw on the lower left hand corner and I roll it tightly around the straw. Make sure that that corner is secure, and then I can remove it from my straw. So now I have a few paper tubes. In advance or ahead of time, I made a bunch so that I was ready. So now we have all of these paper tubes ready to go. If you want to make a lot of tubes and make a very large one, you can. I have a very large one hanging up in my living room that I made out of magazines years ago, and then just have a much larger backing. I want to make a small one today, so I'm going to actually cut my tubes in half, which is why I put glue along the entire edge so that they don't become unraveled. And I am not measuring, I'm not making sure that they're all perfectly the same size because they're going to be placed at varying lengths around my circle. So they're not going to end up the same length anyway. And there are some that stick out a lot farther than you want them to, then you can always go back and trim the ends, which is what I did for this one. Okay, so now we have our tubes, we have our circle. So I'm going to take a writing utensil and I'm going to make a smaller circle on the inside, because my first layer, I'm not going to go past that inner circle. I'm going to keep them all on the outside edge. Okay, so I'm going to start with my glue gun. And I'm going to make 2 lines on opposite ends. I have my first 2 pieces. If you are using a glue gun, make sure that you're very careful. We don't want you to burn yourself. So these might not be able to make it all the way to the edge of that inner circle, and that's okay. There we go. We have our first layer. And I always did it the opposite side so that I can make sure that the lines were straight and so that I didn't have them get too wonky. Now on this inner circle, I'm going to cut up one. And I'm just going to put down a layer of small pieces so that as I add my second layer, they have something to be glued onto. But it's not going to be visible in the final product. There we go. Now, you can see that the cardboard is visible between the paper tubes. So we're going to make a second layer, and we're going to place them in between each tubes, and we're going to go closer into the circle. I want these to be a little bit shorter, so I'm going to take a bunch and I'm just going to trim them off a little bit. There are some that are coming a little bit unraveled, but that's okay because as we glue them down, the hot glue will help them to stay closed. Now I'm going to pick 2 spokes and I'm going to place a little bit of glue between them and start placing our second layer. And these can come a little closer to the center. Because there isn't much room, okay, this keeps moving. Because this, there isn't much room, I'm going to place a little bit of glue between each tube. And these can come a little closer to the center. Okay, this keeps moving. Because this, there isn't much room, okay, this keeps moving. Because this, there isn't much room, I'm going to place a little bit of glue between each tube. And these can come a little closer to the center. Because there isn't enough room in the center for them all to fit and touch the center, then I am going to trim some of them so that they fit nicely alongside each other and stay straight. There we go. All right, I think I got them all. So we have all of our spokes or our paper tubes on. So you have two options. For this one, I decided to put something to cover up this little end centerpiece that doesn't look too pretty. You also, if you would prefer, you can just turn it around that way and then put a decorative piece of paper or a photograph in the center. So either one would look really nice. I think I'm going to do another centerpiece to cover that up. To do that, I'm going to take some tubes that I haven't used yet, and I'm going to kind of flatten them. I'm going to glue them together so that we can get a thicker piece. Maybe more. All right, and then we start at one end and we'll just roll it up. Okay, I need a little help from the hot glue to keep the ends down. Now we put a big dollop of hot glue in the middle. And plop it in the center. And there we have it. Oops. Starburst made from magazines. You can use any kind of paper, the color paper, the magazines, books, newspapers, depending on what type of paper you use, that'll determine how colorful it is. I am going to trim a few pieces off that are just a little bit longer than their neighbors. There we go. And there we have it. There's one last step so that you can hang it on your wall. I have a little loop of ribbon here, and I'm just going to take a little bit of hot glue and attach it to the back so that you can hang it up on your wall. And that's it. Thank you for joining us today. I hope that you try your own craft. And I hope that you join us next week and have a very good day. Bye.